The myth of the Great Wall of China. On July 20th, 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon's surface, one of the first questions he faced back on Earth wasn't about the historic moonwalk itself. It was about whether he could see the Great Wall of China from up there. His answer shocked millions of people around the world. No, Armstrong said firmly, the Great Wall is definitely not visible from the moon. This simple statement shattered one of the most persistent myths in human history. A belief so widespread that it had been taught in schools, featured in encyclopedias, and accepted as fact for over 200 years. Before we uncover the truth behind the Great Wall of China myths, here's a quick request. If this story interests you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Seriously, it takes just 1 second, but it helps us tremendously. Did you subscribe? Great! Now let's dive into the world of legendary misconceptions. Today we're separating fact from fiction about one of humanity's greatest architectural achievements, and the surprising truth will completely change how you think about this ancient wonder. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Legend. The myth that the Great Wall of China is visible from space didn't start with the space age as. It's actually much older than that. The earliest known reference dates back to 1754, when English antiquarian William Stukeley wrote in a letter, "This mighty wall makes a considerable figure upon the terrestrial globe, and may be discerned at the moon." Think about that for a moment. In 1754, humans had never been to space, had no telescopes powerful enough to see the moon's surface clearly, and had no idea what Earth actually looked like from above. Yet somehow this myth took root and spread across the world. By 1895, English writer Henry Norman claimed the wall enjoys the reputation of being the only work of human hands on the globe visible from the moon. The myth gained even more traction in 1932 when the famous Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoon called it the mightiest work of man, the only one that would be visible to the human eye from the moon. But here's what's fascinating. This belief became so accepted that by the mid-20th century, it was being taught as fact in schools around the world, including in China itself. Chapter 2. The Space Age Reality Check. When humans finally reached space in the 1960s, they had the perfect opportunity to test this centuries-old claim. The results were disappointing for myth believers everywhere. Apollo 12 astronaut Alan Bean was asked directly about the Great Wall's visibility from the moon. His response was clear. The only thing you can see from the moon is a beautiful sphere, mostly white, some blue and patches of yellow, and every once in a while some green vegetation. No man-made object is visible at this scale. To put this in perspective, the Great Wall averages about 20 feet wide, from the moon's distance of 238,855 miles away. Trying to see the Great Wall would be like trying to spot a human hair from 2 miles away. You would need vision 17,000 times better than normal human eyesight to even have it. Even China's first astronaut Yang Liwei dealt a final blow to this national myth in 2003. After his historic space flight, he told reporters, "I couldn't see the Great Wall from space." This admission was so shocking that China's Ministry of Education actually revised elementary school textbooks that had long claimed the wall was visible from space. Chapter 3. The Low Earth Orbit Confusion. But wait, some astronauts have claimed they could see the Great Wall from space. What's going on here? The confusion comes from different definitions of space. The International Space Station orbits at about 260 miles above Earth, much closer than the moon. From this low Earth orbit, astronauts can see many human-made structures, highways, airports, dams, and yes, occasionally sections of the Great Wall. In 2004, U.S. astronaut Leroy Chiao became the first person to photograph identifiable sections of the Great Wall from the International Space Station. But here's the crucial detail. He needed a camera with a 180 mm telephoto lens and perfect lighting conditions. With the naked eye alone, even he couldn't clearly distinguish the wall. NASA's official position is clear. The Great Wall is barely visible and only under nearly perfect conditions. It is no more conspicuous than many other human-made objects. Roads, runways, and cities are often much easier to spot than the ancient wall. Chapter 4. The Million Body Myth. The space visibility myth isn't the only legend surrounding the Great Wall. Perhaps even more disturbing is the persistent belief that the wall is filled with the bodies of workers who died during its construction. This myth paints a horrifying picture. Millions of workers dying from exhaustion, starvation, and accidents, their bodies ground up and mixed into the mortar or simply buried within the wall itself. Some versions claim the wall is literally held together by human remains, earning it the nickname the longest cemetery on Earth. The truth is both less macabre and more tragic. While it's estimated that between 400,000 to 1 million people died during the wall's construction over many centuries, their bodies were not used as building materials. Think about it logically. Any engineer knows that decomposing organic matter would severely weaken a structure. Ancient Chinese builders weren't going to compromise their defensive wall by filling it with rotting corpses. Chapter 5. The real construction story. So what actually happened to the workers who died? Archaeological evidence suggests they were buried in mass graves near the wall, not within it. This is consistent with Chinese burial customs of the time and practical construction needs. The working conditions were indeed brutal. Workers included soldiers, conscripted peasants, and criminals who labored under terrible conditions with insufficient food, in harsh weather, and on dangerous mountain terrain. Many died from disease, exhaustion, falling rocks, and accidents. But there's an interesting twist to the construction story. Recent scientific analysis revealed that Ming Dynasty builders used an innovative mortar mixture that included sticky rice. This made the wall incredibly durable, so durable that much of it has survived over 600 years of earthquakes and weather. The sticky rice mortar was actually one of the world's first composite building materials, combining organic and inorganic components to create structures that were remarkably resilient. Chapter 6. The single wall illusion. Here's another myth that surprises many people. The Great Wall isn't actually a single continuous wall. What we call the Great Wall is actually a complex network of walls, trenches, and fortifications built by different dynasties over more than 2,000 years. The earliest walls date back to the 7th century BC, built by warring states to defend their territories from each other. The first emperor of unified China, Qin Shi Huang, ordered these separate walls to be connected and extended around 220 BC. But even then, it wasn't one continuous structure. Different sections were built at different times, using different materials and techniques. Some parts are made of stone, others of brick, rammed earth, or even just piled rocks. In total, Chinese surveys have identified over 21,000 kilometers of walls and fortifications that make up the Great Wall system. The iconic image most people have, the stone and brick wall winding across mountain ridges, represents mainly the Ming Dynasty sections built between 1368 and 1644 AD. Chapter 7. The impenetrable fortress myth. Many people believe the Great Wall was an impenetrable barrier that kept invading armies out of China. This is another myth that doesn't match historical reality. While the wall was effective against small raiding parties, it was never truly impenetrable. Determined armies found ways around, over, or through it. The Mongols, for instance, often simply bribed guards to let them pass through gates. Other invaders used siege weapons or found undefended sections. The wall's real purpose wasn't to create an impenetrable barrier. It was to slow down invaders, force them into predictable routes, and give Chinese armies time to respond. It was more like an early warning system combined with a speed bump than an absolute defense. The most famous failure of the wall as a defensive structure came in 1644, when Manchu forces conquered China and established the Qing dynasty. The wall couldn't prevent this conquest, which lasted until 1912. Chapter 8. Modern damage and destruction today. The Great Wall faces threats that its builders never imagined. About 1/3 of the original structure has crumbled due to natural erosion, but human activity poses an even greater danger. In 2023, 2 construction workers made international headlines when they used an excavator to create a shortcut through a Ming Dynasty section of the wall in Shanxi province. Police described their action as causing irreversible damage to the integrity of the Ming Great Wall. But this wasn't an isolated incident. Over the decades, sections of the wall have been dismantled for building materials, damaged by development projects, and even vandalized by tourists taking souvenirs. Climate change and increasing air pollution in China. Chapter 9. The power of persistent myths. Why do these myths about the Great Wall persist despite being thoroughly debunked? Psychologists point to several factors. First, the myths serve a psychological need. The idea that humans built something so massive, it's visible from space, appeals to our sense of pride and achievement. It makes the wall seem even more impressive than it already is. Second, the myths are simple and memorable. You can see it from the moon is much easier to remember than the complex reality of lighting conditions, camera equipment, and orbital distances. Finally, these myths have been repeated so often and for so long that they've become embedded in popular culture. Even today, despite being debunked by NASA, astronauts, and historians, many people still believe the Great Wall is visible from space. Chapter 10. The True Wonder. The real Great Wall of China is actually more impressive than the myths suggest. It represents one of humanity's greatest construction projects, built over more than 2,000 years by dozens of different dynasties and kingdoms. The wall system stretches over 13,000 miles. That's more than halfway around the Earth at the equator. It crosses deserts, mountains, and plains, incorporating watchtowers, fortresses, and garrison towns into a complex defensive network. The engineering challenges were enormous. builders had to transport materials across impossible terrain, often carrying massive stone blocks up steep mountain slopes. They developed innovative techniques like the sticky rice mortar and created a logistics system capable of supplying workers across vast distances. More than 10 million people visit the Great Wall each year, making it one of the world's most popular tourist destinations. In 2007, it was named one of the new 7 wonders of the world, not because you can see it from space, but because it represents an incredible achievement of human determination and engineering. The legacy of truth. The myths surrounding the Great Wall teach us important lessons about how facts can spread and persist even when they're completely wrong. In our age of instant information and social media, it's more important than ever to verify claims before accepting them as truth. The Great Wall doesn't need myths to make it impressive. The real story, it's of millions of people working over centuries to build humanity's longest structure, using innovative techniques that are still being studied today, is far more fascinating than any legend. So the next time someone tells you the Great Wall is visible from the moon, you can share the real story. The wall may not be visible from space, but it remains one of humanity's greatest achievements. And sometimes, the truth is more amazing than the myth.